Amazing grace, how sweet the sound.
More than 7 years later, historians are calling it one of the most remarkable speech moments of the Obama presidency.
A wretch like me.
In the wake of a massacre at a black church in South Carolina where a white supremacist killed 9 people, the president traveled to Charleston, noted the grieving family's forgiveness, and sang. The singing was a total surprise to everybody in South Carolina and all but a handful of White House staff.
5 of us knew. We were on Marine One that morning, shuttling from the White House to Andrews Air Force Base, and he handed me back the most recent draft of the speech and said, if it feels right, I might sing it. And the First Lady was there, and Dennis McDonough and Valerie Jarrett, and I'd pulled 3 straight all-nighters in a row, so I just looked at him and was like, you do you, man, whatever you want. And he was steeped in the traditions of the AME Church, so he knew that they would join in. He knew he wouldn't be left alone.
As Cody Keenan, President Obama's former chief speechwriter, details in a new book, the anxieties and pressures in the White House that week were off the charts. The Supreme Court was poised to make decisions on health care and gay marriage. The president got the rulings on both he was hoping for in the 24 hours leading into Charleston.
He was already in improving spirits because the Supreme Court had upheld Obamacare while he was on Thursday, and he was working on the speech Thursday night. And then Friday morning, you get marriage equality, and there were just these joyous scenes at the Supreme Court and all over the White House. And he had an open heart, even though he knew he was going down to eulogize victims of an act of racial terrorism. So all of that kind of came together into this beautiful moment where he decided he was going to sing Amazing Grace.
But before he sang, there was this.
Amazing grace. Amazing grace.
He paused for 11 seconds at the text. And I was trying to figure out why he paused. My first concern was I was worried people at home would think there was a page missing in the text and it was going to be my fault. But I asked him afterwards, what was the pause all about? And he said, the thing about Amazing Grace is you got to start low. Otherwise, by the time you get to a wretch like me, your voice cracks. So I was just gathering myself to start low.
Amazing grace.
There is one other aspect to this that makes the speech and the moment even more compelling. Despite Cody Keenan working on the Charleston remarks for days amidst all the pressures of the week, the final draft he gave President Obama the night before was largely rejected.
He called me back into the White House that night around 11 p.m. And we sat in the residence and went through his edits. And he got to pages 3 and 4, and there was just a big line through each one, it's just like a punch in the gut. And I apologized to him. It was the first time I'd ever done that. And I told him, I'm sorry I couldn't get it there. And this is one of the reasons why he's such a great boss. He put his hand on my shoulder and said, look, brother, we're collaborators. You gave me what I needed to do to work with this. And you'll see some of your work in there too. And plus, when you've been thinking about these issues for 40 years, when you've been thinking about race, when you've written a memoir on race, you'll know what you want to say too. And that goes a long way.